going on, City Youth? I hope you're having a fantastic week. We are a youth group that's all about knowing Jesus and making Jesus known, and we gather together to encourage one another in life, love, and maturity. Speaking not of maturity, I'm joined by Brendan.
Wow.
Finally,
Wow.
He hasn't ditched us this week. He's finally joined us. Brendan, what have you got to say for yourself for not joining for the last 2 weeks? Don't say something boring like COVID or lockdown or anything.
You kicked me out.
I didn't kick you out, man.
You told me that you were going to use the excuse of COVID and you were going to tell kids that that's the reason why I wasn't here. But really, you just told me I'm not welcome anymore.
Oh.
But I've forced my way back, so it's good to see you all.
Very good, very good. He's putting words in my mouth. But speaking of words in the mouth, speaking of words, that means questions, because you're asking questions about what I'm saying. So question of the week, Brendan, is have you ever seen a healing or a miracle?
I haven't. No, I can't say that I have seen like a supernatural miracle. I've seen lots of miracles in terms of things like my brother turning up to things on time, or Essendon actually making the finals again.
Whoa.
But
that's
nothing in the supernatural realm.
Yeah, I get you.
How about you?
Yeah, I haven't seen a supernatural miracle either. But I have heard of people that have seen healings, which is cool because, like, although you haven't seen them, you sort of get to hear people's perspective of them. But in your groups, I would love to hear if you guys have seen a supernatural miracle, but even if it's not a supernatural miracle, even if you've had an answer to prayer, shoot that in your group, and we'll be back after the Bible reading.
Soon afterward, he went to a town called Nain, and his disciples and a great crowd went with him. As he drew near to the gate of the town, behold, a man who had died was being carried out, the only son of his mother, and she was a widow, and a considerable crowd from the town was with her. And when the Lord saw her, he had compassion on her, and he said to her, "Do not weep." Then he came up and touched the bearer, and the bearer stood still, and he said, "Young man, I say to you, arise." And the dead man sat up and began to speak, and Jesus gave him to his mother. Fear seized them all, and they glorified God, saying, "A great prophet has arisen among us, and God has visited his people." And this report about him spread through the whole of Judea and all the surrounding country. This is the word of the Lord.
So as you will have read that, you will have seen that this woman has lost her son. She's a widow, so she's lost her husband, she's now lost her son. But not only has she lost her son, and as painful as that would be, for them back in that day, a widow, she has no form of income. She has no way of being able to live in society in a way that, you or I might be, that we might have a job, or we might be able to go to school. This widow has got nothing left. Her son was her last chance, and he's died now, and she has lost everything. She is feeling the weight of that, but also the weight of losing her own son too. And we see that Jesus meets her in this place. That Jesus walks up to her. We don't see that the widow comes up to Jesus. Jesus meets her in her grieving. And her total encounter with Jesus changes the trajectory of her life at that point. And we read that as we read on through. But what does Jesus' encounter do for this woman?
There's three real key things that we see in the woman's encounter with Jesus. We've touched on the first one, that Jesus goes and meets her in her need. And then in verse 13, we see that Jesus shows compassion. And in verse 14, that he acts. He goes to meet her, he shows compassion, and he acts. And it's something that is unique about Jesus. It's something that sets him apart from all the other people that would claim to be God in this world, that not only can he empathize with us and by having come to earth and experience the pain, experience the hurt that we go through so that we can know he knows what we're going through, but he doesn't just know about it, he acts. He sees our hurt and he does something about it. And of course, we know that that points forward to him seeing our greatest need, our need for victory over death. That he would see that need and act on it, that he would offer himself as a sacrifice for us to have victory over death that we can share in. He sees our needs and he acts. It won't always look like a raising from the dead, but we can be sure that God sees us in our grieving, he sees us in our hurt, he understands what we're going through, but he doesn't just sit back and think about it, he steps in and he acts.
Yeah, that's good. So with this in mind, as we go through this encounter where Jesus makes all things new, for some of us, we're grieving right now. Like maybe we're feeling the weight of, we don't even know what the COVID situation is going to be when you guys watch this video. You might be in a lockdown, you might be free, we don't know. But that's the point, that we actually don't know what each other are grieving. We don't know what each other are going through. So let's just spend some time now. Chat with the person next to you, chat with the person across from you, look to the person who's diagonally from you. Let's chat about how we're going, how we can be praying for one another, and really encourage one another in how Jesus meets us in our grieving. So as you guys have spent that time in your groups, really hope that you're able to really chat with one another, just be able to be with one another and be able to talk and chat through some things and also pray through some things. That's really important for Christians as we gather together. Something that's really unique for Christianity is just being able to pray with one another, being able to pray for each other, be able to meet each other in our needs, but also point each other to Jesus to meet that need. But Brendan, it's been a good episode. We've been able to go through a pretty sick passage. We've been able to see someone raised from the dead and Jesus meet someone who was really sad and grieving. Two polar ends of the spectrum, I guess. But until next week, City Youth, let us this week in all that we do continue to live,
to know Jesus,
and make Jesus known.
Amen.